Hello viewers, well now Ross casts his eye over the second part of the recent ALMS car pack. Let's take a look.
Hi there guys, yeah, it's me Ross back with the American Le Mans Series car pack part 2. Now today we have the 2011 Bentley Platinum Motorsport Continental GT, and we start off with the interior. It doesn't look like any other Bentley you've ever seen. It doesn't use an entire field of cows for the leather, and it doesn't use an entire forest of wood for the dashboard and anything like that. So yeah, it's replaced with carbon fibre and aluminium. You wouldn't expect that from a Bentley in any way, shape or form, even on the Super Sport. Well, I guess on the Super Sport because that was the sporty version, but this is not sporty in any way, shape or form. Maybe apart from the engine. The engine is fantastic. It's the same 6-litre W12 that you'd find in any other Bentley Continental GT, only this has two turbochargers producing 704 horsepower. Which is a lot coming from a car that weighs next to near 3 tons. So it does get a move on pretty sharply. It accelerates to 60 in about 5.5 seconds, which is quick considering the size of the car, and on its way to top speed of 210 miles an hour. And that's fantastic, to be fair. From a car that weighs next to near 3 tons, I'm going to call this the Sherman tank of cars. I like it. Unlike the Challenger, the suspension's stiff, so it can handle the turns. Unfortunately, it suffers with tremendous understeer because it's four-wheel drive and it's so heavy, and it has a massive engine up front. So if you want to improve this car in any way, shape or form, move most of the power towards the rear of the car and lighten it as much as you can without taking it out of class, and I reckon you'll have one cracking motor on your hands, which is... it's a Bentley. You can't really complain. You get a Bentley, although the cost of this car in-game is a lot. It's 550,000 credits for a car that weighs near enough 3 tons. But imagine that amount of horsepower in a car weighing just under the 2-ton mark. Now you see what I'm getting at here. It's a very good car, and I can't wait to get onto the next one, which is the famous Audi Quattro S1. So keep watching. Right, ladies and gentlemen, this is the 1986 Audi number 2 Audi Sport Quattro S1 E2, powered by a 469 horsepower, 2.1 litre, 5-cylinder turbocharged engine. And as I'm sitting in this cockpit of this car, I'm thinking of how many people have actually driven this car over the years. No end of drivers, professional stunt drivers, and all the various different rally drivers of the period that sat in this car, drove it down various hillsides and rally stages. I'm thinking how fun it must have been to be them in this period, because the Group B rally cars were my idea of a perfect rally series. There were so many different manufacturers entering with their different variants of cars. Metro with this Rover with the Metro 6R4, Ford with the RS200, Vauxhall with the or Opel with the Cadet, and you know it was that period of experimentation on how much power you could put down on a dirt track, and you know really getting experimental with cars. That's why I like Group B so much, and I was so sad to see it go. Obviously, me being born too young to actually see the Group B rally cars in action, I've only had to learn what I can from various videos that I've found, and it's really a good period of time for these cars. But Audi were the old timers in this sort of rally game, because they started with the Quattro back in the early days when it was the only four-wheel drive car available, using in the rally stages, which was an innovation at the time. And then it became more eccentric and even daft with all these body kits and stuff like that. This is the E2 variant. There was loads of A1, A2, S1, S2, and it was all different variants. They added different aero packages and decreased or increased the horsepower, and it was always moving on. There was always a different development, which I think is brilliant in these cars. I would definitely recommend driving this car just for a piece of history. And now we move on to the next car, which I believe is the Panoz race car. So let's get moving. Right, here's our next car. It's the 2011 Panoz number 50 Panoz Racing Abruzzi, which I believe is French for some sort of bloke. This car was originally designed to look like one of the classic sweeping back French classic cars, like early 50s cars. It does look very, well, I was going to say pretty, but it does look rather ugly. I'm sorry, but it does. It looks like one of those old staff cars that you'd see from World War II. But the engine is definitely not from the early 50s. This is a Ford V8, and it sounds amazing coming out the back of this Panoz. It's probably one of the best sounding cars. No, I'd say the second best sounding car in this car park. Definitely. Just because it attacks it attacks your ears with great force, and it's very difficult to drive. So it's showing that this car is definitely in early development. It needs refining a bit more, and that's where Forza comes in. Really, I mean, you can tune the car to suit your personal taste, but I drive this car completely stock, and it definitely feels like it needs some work. It doesn't feel quite attached to the road like most race cars do. So yeah, any sort of improvement that this game could help with, it definitely needs it. It doesn't feel attached to the road, and it looks ghastly, but the engine is fantastic. Definitely worth a drive. It's a different experience. It's kind of like the Holden, but a bit easier to control. And it's a race car, so you can use it in those stupid races that you have to do in the Forza career. Alright then guys, let's move on to the next car, which is the Audi Diesel Le Mans car. Right, here's our next car, guys. It's the 2011 Audi number 2 Audi Sport Team Joest R18 TDI, powered by a 540 horsepower turbo diesel V6 engine. And yeah, I really hate this car with every fibre of my being, because motorsport should be about loud things damaging the environment on purpose. I mean, nobody wants to see an eco-friendly race. That would be the boringest race ever. You wouldn't want to hear. You want to hear boom, boom, poof, explosions and crashes and loud V8 noises and rumbles. If you're the type of eco-mentalist that like that, go into a ditch and laugh yourself crazy, because this is just stupid. You don't have eco cars in racing. It doesn't work. It's the loudest, most violent racing in the world. NASCAR gets more views than Formula 1. Do you understand this? And Le Mans gets barely enough viewers as it is. Granted, the race is 24 hours long and nobody can watch for that long, but that's why there's highlights. You want to see loud cars in Le Mans, otherwise you won't know it's past. You'll be like, you just be lying asleep in your tent at Le Mans, and all you hear is boom, boom. Eco cars don't work. I mean, they work practically, yes, but it really, really upsets me that this is the way motorsport's going. But other than that, the car in the game is very twitchy, and unlike the Honda I said was my first R1 car, this is the one that you should attempt after you've taken brave pills, because it's very twitchy under braking and in slow corners. It's not the best car I've driven, but it is the most torquey and powerful. Until we get to my favourite car, which is the of all time in this game now, is the Mazda 787B. So let's go and check that out, shall we? Right, here's our last car in this car pack, guys. I know it's sad to see, but it's a brilliant car nonetheless. It's the 1991 Mazda Team Mazdaspeed number 55 787B. It's a lot of numbers and figures, but it's Japanese. You'll get used to it. The interior is very creature comforty. It's got a roll bar, it's got a steering wheel and a digital dash, loads of little toggle switches. And when a car's idle is famous, you want to drive this car. And it's got a 6-speed manual gearbox, which is brilliant. It's got a clutch pedal, a brake pedal and an accelerator pedal. This is what you need for Le Mans, not flappy pedals, not diesel engines, no eco cars. We want loud, proud cars. Ah, it's brilliant to hear this thing get thrown around the track again. I just love the sound of this car. That lovely engine that revs to 10,900 RPM. The initial designers of the engine said this engine could be rated at 900 horsepower. But they didn't want to put it to that because of reliability issues and such and such. Well, long story short, the FIA banned this car after it won the 1991 Le Mans with Johnny Herbert at the wheel. A nice British driver to win the Le Mans, but it was with Volker Wilder and Bertrand Gacnot. I'm sorry if I'm not pronouncing these names correctly. I can't. It's not what I do. I'm better with cars. Yeah, this car is fantastic. I definitely recommend driving it, just simply for the fact that it's the sound of the car, the driving of the car. It's twitchy, it's 90s. You don't expect, you know, hardcore aerodynamic helping you, no ABS, no traction control. It's a full-on racing machine, and for that I simply cannot recommend it enough. It is probably the best car ever that Turn 10 has added to any game they have ever, you know, built. So I'm quite happy for that. And we have a car that GT5 did have. Thank you. Right, that's me. That's the end of the review. I hope you enjoyed it. Like and favourite if you can. This has been Ross. Take care, guys.
So overall then, very positive from Ross. It's been a good pack. There's some good vehicles in there, bunched together. There's a couple of stinkers, isn't there? But we're, you know, on the whole, I don't think any pack's going to be perfect. They've picked the pack based on performance as well as, you know, looks and stuff like that. So hence the Dodge is in the pack. But there's lots of people that can do some drifting with it, I'm sure, even though it handles like, you know, a bus. Looking at this pack, you know, Ross obviously wasn't as keen on the Audi. That's more something I would be keen on. I like the whole high grip, modern racing car type. Though I have to admit, I haven't tested this car yet, and I will be in a coming video. And I'm going to see. I didn't get on too well with the Peugeot. I found the Peugeot Le Mans extremely imprecise. So I'm looking to see how precise it is and how it moves around on its suspension. Certainly, I mean, you could say yes, there's a setup, but there's also a core default to it that I felt just wasn't with the Peugeot. It just wasn't going where I wanted it to go. It was over and understeering and floating about. The 787B was lots of fun. Of course, as I mentioned on the video, I was suffering some understeer, so I'd need to alter my steering settings and alter some of the car tuning components as well. But either way, fantastic fun, great looking, great sounding cars. In fact, a whole bunch of them are great sounding. Forza Motorsport's done a cracking job on car sound, it has to be said. But that's it for this pack. Ross will be coming back very soon with a tuning guide. He'll be taking you week after week to how to take a car from a base car, how to tune it up and make it a leaderboard car by the end of it, and showing you essentially what all the top players and teams do when they take a car. And lots of people will have different interpretations on how to tune. We do welcome people coming back to us, and I'll mention all of that on a future video. But that's it from me for now, viewers. As ever, more soon.